Welcome back. It's Miss Nieder again. Let's check your answers on this page and see how you did. I really hope you tried them. If you just copy down my answers, you're not helping yourself at all. So if you are a cheater, hit pause, try these problems, and do as many as you can by yourself, and then come back and hit play and check. Okay? So on number 1 here, best deal, if you look at this sign over here, is obviously store C. They got the cheapest shirts at $10 per shirt. But now B is going to change its rate and charge you $42 for 4 shirts. If you divide that, then you get $10.50 per shirt. Well, that still makes store C the better deal because $10.50 is greater than that, so store C is still better. Even if we change this to $10.50, C still has the best deal. All right, so that wasn't too bad. Let's look at the next one. What's 1,250 centimeters converted to meters? And we're told that there are 100 centimeters in a meter. Which, by the way, if you're asking yourself, oh my God, are we going to have to memorize these? Probably not. I think us as teachers, we're going to give you the conversions or give you a sheet of a whole bunch of them, and then you can pick off and use the ones you need. All right? So looking at your conversions here, we know there's 1 meter per every 100 centimeters. It had to go on the 100 centimeters had to go on the bottom to make the centimeters cancel, and you should get 12.5 meters. Okay, next one. This one was a biggie. We had this athlete who can run 100 feet in 3.1 seconds. Well, we were kind of curious, so how fast is that in miles per hour? Well, you have to do several conversions here, so set up those train tracks. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so the seconds will cancel. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour, so the minutes cancel. In 1 mile, there are 5,280 feet. You may not have known that, so you might have had to Google to find that, or if not, now you know. And so the feet cancel here and here. So now notice our units left are miles per hour, which is what we were going for. So that's the units we want to have left. So on top, you've got 100 times a 60 times another 60 times a 1, and those are all in miles. And on the bottom, you've got the 3.1 times the 1 times the 1 times the 5,280. Multiply that all out, divide, and you get 22 miles per hour. Pretty darn quick. All right, and then the last problem. If you convert from ounces to pounds, will that amount of ounces be greater or less than the number of pounds? Well, it should be greater, right? Because if you're converting to a bigger unit, you're not going to need as many of the bigger unit, right? Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. So that concept can kind of help you to check your answers to see if your answers make sense. All right, very good. That was 2.6. Now we need to move on to 2.7. So flip your page over to here, where our objectives now that I can apply and solve proportions. I can apply and solve proportions. Well, what the heck is a proportion? A proportion is an equation. You know what those are. And what kind of equation is it? It's an equation that states that 2 ratios, remember a ratio is just a fraction, are equal. An equation that states that 2 ratios, which are fractions, are equal. Okay? I am actually going to show you 2 ways to solve a proportion, and you are going to do the one that you like the best. Okay? I'm going to show the one method out here off to the side. So why don't you just put your pencil down for a moment and watch the 2 different ways, and then you can copy down the way that you like best, okay, for this first example. So we've got 12 over 9 equals x over 27. I'm going to rewrite that over here. Now, we want to get x by itself, just like we normally do when we solve equations. Oh, and by the way, notice this is called a proportion because we've got 2 fractions set equal to each other. Okay? So you look at, okay, what's hooked onto the x over there on that side? Well, there's a 27. How is that 27 attached to that x? It's being attached by division. So what's the inverse operation of division? Hopefully you're saying multiplication. So that means I have to multiply both sides by 27. Okay? We know that makes these over here cancel, so that on the right I now have my x by itself. And over here on the left-hand side I've got 12 times 27 on top, and I've got a 9 on the bottom. Right? So if I work that math out in my head, 12 times 27 is 324. over 9 still. And then I can actually divide that to see if that reduces or is a nice number, and it actually does equal 36. So we get x equals 36. So really that's nothing new. That's what we did at the beginning of this chapter when we learned how to solve one-step equations, only now these have fractions in them. And we actually may have done some of these already. So no biggie, right? Well, there's a technique that some teachers teach called cross multiplication. And cross multiplication only works when you have a proportion, two fractions set equal to each other. Let me show you how it works. You're going to make a little cross or an X in here. And that tells you what you're going to multiply. So 12 times 27. And then you always write an equal sign after you do that first cross. Then you do the other cross this way. 9 times x, which is just 9x. And you write that on the other side of the equals. Okay? Then what do we do? Now it's your basic one-step equation. What's over here with the x? A 9. How's that 9 attached to the x? By multiplication. What's the inverse operation of that? Hopefully you're saying division. So we divide both sides by 9. So the 9's cancel over here. So x equals 12 times 27 divided by 9. And look over here. 12 times 27 divided by 9. So you see that you get the exact same answer. Just a little bit different way of thinking about it. Okay? So you can solve like we've always solved. Just think, got to get x by itself, got to isolate it. Or when you see two fractions set equal to each other, you think, oh, this is a case where I can cross multiply. Okay? Cross multiply tends to be a little faster. Some teachers don't like it because you're really not thinking about what you're doing. So, you know, you pick the way that you like best. So right now, hit pause and either write down this method over here or write down this method here, whichever makes the most sense to you. I am going to go ahead and use cross multiplication on the rest of them, but you can do whatever you like. Okay? All right, so looking at number 2, just some more examples here. Cross multiplication, boom, one way, 5 times 12. What's 5 times 12? Use your calculator if you need to. 60. Maybe I'll write that out, so if you're looking at your notes later, you know where that 60 came from. So 5 times 12 equals, we always write equals after we do that first cross. Boom, second cross. 6 times y plus 4. And here's where you have to be careful. All right? We are taking 6 times the entirety of y plus 4, which means we've got to group it with parentheses. Okay? Which, in your head, should mean, oh, I bet I have to distribute, which is correct. All right, so 5 times 12 is 60. And then over here, I know I've got to distribute. So I can take 6 times y, and then I can take 6 times 4. Now it's your basic two-step equation, right? So I'm going to subtract 24 from both sides. When I do that, that cancels, so I just have 6y over here. 60 minus 24 is, what, 36? And then I've got 6 times y, so I have to divide by 6 on both sides. Those cancel, so I get 36 over 6, which is 6. Okay? Hopefully you're doing okay. Just hang in there. We know you're doing this on video. We got a couple more here to practice. All right, so same thing. Cross. Going cross. Boom. 24 times a negative 9 equals cross. Boom. 18 times the group, s minus 9. All right? Why don't you hit pause and see if you can finish this one? It's just like the last one. Why don't you do that? All right, hopefully you're coming back from trying it. Let's check your answer. So this is a negative 216. And this distributed is 18s minus 162. Add 162 to both sides. What do we have left? Those cancel, so I have 18s equals 216 minus 160, or plus 162 rather, is a negative 54. Divide both sides by 18. Oops, not negative 18, positive 18. And you get s equals negative 3. Okay? All right, try number 4 all by yourself. Do it. Hit pause and do it. All right, so hopefully you got k equals a negative 120. Hit pause and look at my work there if you need to. All right? Last problem. We've got to have a word problem, and this one is kind of tricky. It says a furniture factory makes 5 recliners for every 2 couches. That kind of sounds like a rate to me. So I'm going to go 5 recliners per every 2 couches. All right? It says if the factory makes a total of 154 recliners and couches in a day, how many recliners were made? So this is setting up a proportion, and we know when we set up equal proportions, we have to have like units on top and bottom. So this problem is asking us how many recliners were made. Well, recliners is on top, and we don't know. So that's our x. On the bottom, we need number of couches, but they didn't really tell us that either. But they did tell us that the total of recliners and couches together is 154. Okay? So, if the number of recliners is x, and let's do this. Let's make it an r for recliners. How could I get an expression, a math expression, for the number of couches that I need to put on the bottom? If I know they make 154 total, and they made r recliners, how many couches did they have to make? Well, 154 minus r, right? Because we know they have to add up to 154. So there's our proportion. All right, so now we can use cross multiplying to solve it. We can go boom, and it doesn't matter if you go this way first or the other part of the x first. It doesn't make any difference. So I've got 5 times 154 minus r equals, boom, when I go the other way, 2r. So I have to use my distributive property. 5 times 154 is 770. 5 times a negative r is a minus 5r, still equal to 2r. Add 5r to both sides to get all my r's on the same side. That's old stuff we learned previously. Those cancel. So 770 equals 2r plus 5r is 7r. Get r by itself, we have to divide both sides by 7. So r equals 110. So that means we had 110 recliners, which is what the question was asking for. Okay? Oops, where'd that come from? All right. So now your job is to go to the practice page and practice those. You can do these. These are very doable. I don't think they're as hard as the unit conversions and the rate conversions. So right now you go ahead and check your answers. All right? Hit pause. Do it. All right, this time I'm just showing you the answers, so that way you just can't copy my work and your teacher will know if you really tried or not. You have to have your work shown to show us that you actually tried this. So check your answers. If your answers don't equal those, go back step by step and see, just check your work, okay? Or maybe you can trade with a partner who's also doing the same thing and check each other's work and see if you can find each other's mistakes. That's a great way to learn. And then at the bottom we've got 9 cakes. All right? So hopefully you feel okay with this. We'll touch on it next class a little bit. I hope you did great on your quiz today, and I hope you understood this all okay. But again, either myself or your algebra teacher will be talking a little bit more about this next class. All right? Have a great day, you guys. You probably have some homework assigned in Math Excel, so make sure you check that out. See ya.